Good morning. By special request from Joshua and worship words beginning to look around Christmas.
This is Unity Spiritual Center in Williamsburg. Pretty exciting to be here. Yes. We're thinking about Christmas. I think about Mary. Mary, did you know that your baby will one day walk on water? You know, that sort of thing. Anybody here pregnant? I don't see very well, so do I see it? Okay, well, let me tell you something. You are created by God. God created you in the image and likeness of God. That means you have all the inspiration, all the creativeness that life, because you could do as God does with your mind, you create things. We are able to do that. So guess what? Everybody here is pregnant. Because you have within you that creative egg, that cosmic egg, that something of God that is ready to burst out of you. And you are going to give birth to the joy of whatever it is that you create. Isn't it exciting? Isn't that a wonderful Christmas present for you and me? And so I want you all to think about that this week. Think about what is that thing that is being created within you. Oh, what fun. Let's sing a song, okay? What do we got?
Singing o'er the plains, and the mountains in cry, echoing their joyous hymns. Oh,
Is there anybody new in our congregation today?
Hi, my name is Rob. This is my first time in this church. Thank you all for having me.
Wonderful. Well, we have that wonderful thing within us that I told you about, creative atheism. And we have to help each other with all of that. That's the giving part of Christmas. We give to others the love that they need to create their beautiful baby creation, whatever it may be, song, words, journals, a book, helping a grandchild, anyone. Let's honor that in each other, that I honor the Christ in you that is helping other people. Should we do that? And then we'll sing the song. I honor the Christ in you.
Good morning. Together, let us affirm what we know about Unity Williamsburg Spiritual Center. Together. Unity Williamsburg Spiritual Center is a radiant center of divine life, light, and love. We are a thriving, prosperous spiritual community that honors the divine presence in all and celebrates our oneness through love and service in our community. Together again, let's say the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Let's stand and sing. Holy Name.
Holy night, the stars are brightly shining. Is the light of our dear Savior's birth. Long lay the world in sin and crying, till He appeared, and the soul felt His word. A thrill of hope, a weary world rejoices, wonder of grace, a new and glorious dawn. All on your knees, oh, hear the angel's voices, oh, light divine, oh, night when Christ was born. His law is love, and His gospel is peace. Shame shall He break, for the slave is our brother, and in His name all creation shall sing. Sweet wisdom and grateful chorus raise we, now within us, praise His holy name. Christ is the Lord, oh, praise His name forever. Oh, light divine, oh, night when Christ was born. Oh, light divine. Good morning. If you have someone like a prayer for situation or celebration, let's open in our hearts. I will go in my heart right now, separate and shame. Let us say together, as we center ourselves in my presence and my power, we realize that our thoughts have the power to create within us. We center our heart, bring love, peace, joy, and life to situations or celebrations that we all us. Father, thought, and prayer, to transform the world. Amen.
As we continue with Advent, Tom and Fran Roden will light the candle for peace.
Today's candles for peace. The scripture is from Psalms 4:8. I will both lie down and sleep in peace. Sometimes troubles in the world and our awareness of things don't want to make peace hard to find. John 14:27 tells us, do not let your hearts be troubled and do not let them be afraid. As I light this candle, I release any worries and feel centered. Affirmation. I give thanks that I am a radiant center of peace.
Today we welcome, again, Joshua Inacio as our guest speaker. Joshua is a gifted spiritual teacher, channeler, and vibrational sound healer. He blends more than 20 years of metaphysical experience with his devotion to spirit and humanity. Please welcome Joshua.
Very good morning to you all. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. My name is Joshua. I am pregnant. Learning something about myself today. So many questions. It's a pleasure to be here. Okay, let's take a breath, yes. And I'm going to read you a quote that stood out to me last week. And the day came when the risk to remain tight in a bud was greater than the risk it took to blossom. It's a quote from the author Anais Nin, if you've heard of him. My title of the talk today is To Be in the World but Not of the World. And most particularly, what that costs. Picked out some scripture for this, there's a lot actually. I'm going to lead with John 15:19. If you belonged to the world, it would love you as its own. You do not belong to the world. That's why it challenges you. So this speaks to the natural dissonance that we have by being. And I deliberately finished that sentence only. By being alive, we have a dissonance to what is projected into the world that we live alongside. And to be in the world, but not of the world. Our game with that, our challenge, our composition with that, is the degree of how we conduct and cultivate ourselves with it. The ability to create and maintain distance, perhaps, with things you disagree with. Or when you're in presence of things, places, situations that are imposed on you, outside of your will. Do you align or do you refuse to? And even further than that is rejecting the world and creating a new one. And there is a cost to that. So if I'm talking about the world, what am I talking about? I'm not talking about a huge rock hurtling through space. I'm talking about your family. I'm talking about colleagues. I'm talking about your religion, your culture, your beliefs, your gender, your age group, and all of it. Because those are some of the many angles that it can come from. That's you. And why does this matter so much? Why does it matter so much now, right? You see, we've had an interesting 2 or 3 years on this flying rock. There's been a cultural radicalization I've never seen before in my years. And that's fine. That's fine. But what I'm seeing in the current time is a cultural floundering with it. People don't really know what to think, let alone what to say out loud. God help you if you stand up and speak in front of people these days. It was a joke. Okay. Anyway, the world is changing, and it will shape you if you do not shape it. Everyone remember a movie called The Departed from about 20 years ago? It starts off with a quote from Frank Costello. He says, "I'm not a product of my environment. My environment is a product of me." Now, he was a crime boss. Let's not go that far, but you take the point. We have an opportunity, you see. We have an opportunity to shape the world around us from a space of love and integrity. And if you don't follow those last couple of words, what's the same cost and risk in using all those heavy words? Because there is one. There is a cost to maintaining a status quo for the sake of maintaining a status quo. If the world around you is changing, you do not change yourself. You become someone you don't want to be. Potential risk, potential change is a risk as well, because we are always growing and we are always expanding, and that's the journey that your spirit is on, whether you like it or not. You're going to face change. You're going to face potential loss of situation, transformation into a new one. And the unwillingness to look at that, the unwillingness to look at the cost of it, is what keeps us behind the door. The other side of which is progress. But more than that, it's life. It's everything you want. Because you see, you cannot want something in this world without the very real actualization of that. You can't have that in this world. Because we live in a world of duality. And they're married to each other. The other title I had for this talk was going to be The Other Man Who Invented Christmas. Because there was a very special being that lived on our planet once upon a time who embodied this, which I very much want to speak to. I've started off all heavy here. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. You know where I heard that song for the very first time? It's from the Alvin and the Chipmunks Christmas special. Alvin and the Chipmunks. 3 generations have been blessed with Alvin and the Chipmunks. I joined the second of those. It was the animated series on television. Since then, I don't know if you know this, because some of you may not have the mental age of a preschooler. there's been a live-action version of it and a follow-up known as the Squeakquel, which was not as good as the original. However, nothing makes sense about Alvin and the Chipmunks. It shouldn't actually be called Alvin and the Chipmunks. It should be called Alvin, who is a chipmunk, and his two brothers who are also chipmunks. Or Dave and the Chipmunks. Because we have a man in his mid-40s who is unmarried, who has chosen to steal 3 beings out of the forest, conduct a scientific experiment on them, teach them how to play instruments, put clothes on them, and behave in a somewhat toxic way to one of them. You see, the only thing that makes sense about all of this is that he's not married. I've not been married for a few years, but I haven't got to that point. My point is, the concept of our world beginning to look a lot like Christmas, which is something I began to notice around the age of 5 and 6, is words I appreciate having a point in term of reference for. Because what it is indicative of is that at this time of year, this week, one begins to notice, oh, there's different songs on the radio, the Christmas pop songs on the radio. The shops in the street, they're putting up lights, putting up tinsel. The place is looking more like Christmas because this is the time of the annual amplification of the presence of the Christ consciousness on our planet. And so it begins to look like that. Up until about 10 or 15 years ago, when we started to have Christmas flung at us, because the retail schedules now say that Christmas starts on November the 1st. And it is a bizarre experience, is it not, to be walking through Target at the start of November when it's 82 degrees outside, and see Christmas trees everywhere and be hearing Christmas carols. It is dissonant to what our natural rhythm is on this planet. Whatever you're calling it, if you're calling it Christmas, Saturnalia, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, these are all different reflections of the same thing. And we know within us what is right for our planet to begin looking like Christmas. The original man, they called, the man who invented Christmas, is Charles Dickens. Not who I want to speak about today, but I want to give him a worthy mention. Because he, among many amazing works of literature, he brought us the Christmas Carol, which is indicative enough of everything you would need to know about the Christ consciousness. Themes of redemption, being saved, and so on. You've got a guy who is isolated at the beginning, and by the end of it, he is in company. You've got a guy who is deeply, deeply depressed at the start of it, and by the end of it, he is happy. You've got a guy who at the start of it is stingy, miserly. At the end of it, he is generous. That's what the Christ consciousness is going to do. We can open to it. But I want to tell you about the other man, who's not Jesus, and it's not Mariah Carey either. To tell you who this man is, I need to tell you a story about a man called Pietro. This is almost 1,000 years ago. True story. True story. A man called Pietro is a wealthy guy, was successful at textiles from an early age. Met a woman, got married, they had a child, they named him Giovanni. Pietro became more successful, and in those times, in a small town in Europe, when you were a successful businessman, you were basically royalty. He was like that. And he watches his son grow up. He sees him being successful at sports, successful friends, he's good looking, grew up a little bit more, successful with the ladies. He thinks at some point, my boy is going to join my business. Now in those times, republics, these towns, they would go to war with each other, and that's what happened. And his son in his late teens went off to fight. And come back a war hero. Except it didn't go so well, and this young man was in prison. Just 40 miles away, but that may as well have been Florida. Not that bad. Oops. And in prison. Now, Pietro was a man's man, he didn't like to show emotions, so he didn't show emotions, but he was worried. He was deeply, deeply worried. His son did return a year later and was deeply ill. Pietro couldn't show his feelings because he was a man's man. His mother nursed him back to health. But even at that point, this young man was different. Still popular with the ladies, still lots of friends, still intelligent, still good at sports, but different. He started working with his father, but he didn't take to the work. His father noticed he was giving away textiles to the local poor people, and eventually stole some money from Pietro to give to a local church. Pietro got angry. He got the type of anger you get when someone deeply close to you betrays you. Blind angry, wrathful angry. And he grabs his son and he takes him into the street. He calls the bishop because he's not regular angry, he's angry. And he gets the bishop. And he wants the bishop to legally have this boy disowned. And you know how it is when you get angry? All you want is a reaction. All you want from the person you're angry with is to know that they care. All that you want is for them to feel something. But his son did the worst thing possible. He was filled with love. And after this tirade in the town centre, the whole town watching, being disowned by his father, his son just looked at him. Because his son at that time of his life was being regularly filled with the presence of love, regularly filled with the presence of the Christ. He didn't know what that was. And that was happening. And in that moment it happened too. And he spoke to his father volumes without saying a word. Simply looking at him. Letting his father know through silence that he was not his to disown. That he had a greater father. And he simply took off his clothes and walked out of town. He didn't know he was about to change the world. He just went. He left. I should probably tell you who he is, if you haven't guessed. So his name was Giovanni at birth. His father was away, Pietro was away. When he returned, he gave him a new name, called him Francesco, which means the free one. In our language, that name would be Francis. And this took place in a small town in the Umbrian region of Italy called Assisi. You wait long enough, every story ends happily. And this one does. His father and Francis would eventually reconcile. And by that time, it was not his son. He would be known as, he is known to us as Saint Francis of Assisi. Why have I gone on this long roundabout way? Why don't I just tell you, talk about Saint Francis of Assisi? Because this man who actually existed and walked around would have been about that tall on me. Everyone tells me I'm too thin, right? I would look like Arnold Schwarzenegger next to this guy. He really existed. But in the minds of a lot of people, he's been relegated to a neglected bird feeder in your front yard. Or 7 syllables with a rhythm. Saint Francis of Assisi. This was a real man. Why did I call him the other man who invented Christmas? This guy was well read. This Francis. He was educated. One of the only people around that could read at the time. And another true story. 800 years, 11 months, and 16 days ago, he created the first ever nativity scene. And not like that, he made a live one. With babies, with wise men, with Marys. And so remember, this is the guy that could talk to animals. So it's very likely that there were actually 3 chipmunks there too. Actually, the evidence stacks up. He was in his mid-40s, and he was unmarried. It all ties up together. What is it about him that still, hundreds of years later, nearly 1,000 years later, still inspires and enlivens people? You know, up until a couple of years ago, the most popular subject to be submitted to the Library of Congress was St. Francis of Assisi. For years and years and years, he embodied what it is to be in the world, but not of the world. And he did that without fighting. He did that without a fuss. He was not seeking to make following, he just went. They call him the patron saint of humility. I would say the patron saint of oneness sums them up equally well. I believe it was Buckminster Fuller who said, "Do not fight the existing system. Instead, create a new one that makes the existing system obsolete. Because if you fight, you create more of what you are fighting against. To fight is an application of energy and attention. And it would behoove us all to be wise and aware of what we're doing with that." He left control. He left materiality. He left domination. He found freedom. That's the dream, is it not? Do we not all want that in some way? He was self-actualized. He's like the Jesus that you can go and find. You can find where he bought asparagus, where he was born. You can find where he got kicked out of town, literally. And he paid the price. He paid a heavy cost for it. He broke the 5th commandment, for God's sake. Exodus 20:12, honor thy father and mother. Remember that one? He kept the other 9 pretty well. He lost his family. He lost his health, wealth, comfort, predictability. But I'm saying cost, truly it's an exchange. It's an exchange for something else. It's an exchange for much, 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 much more. I would say actually everything. Because what he really lost was attachment. He made fun of the body. Brother ass. It's great because that's the only time you can say the word ass in church. Does anyone else want to? Truly, what we can look to emulate here, because that's the point, is to be resolute. Is to be resolute, right? To be solid and firm in your values. We are going to disappoint. We are going to break hearts in the purpose of following our truth and our life's passion. I say the word truth very deliberately there. Very deliberately there. Because it's not a mental or cognitive truth. It's a beingness of truth. And of course, we're going to have to deal with people in the process. Colin Powell said, if we people please, we are choosing mediocrity. Carl Jung said, if we only care about what other people think, we will remain their prisoner forever. Humility, you know, that's an interesting word. Lewis and I joke about it all the time. Humility, please listen to this. Humility is not meekness. Meekness is a behavior which people who are humble often project. Meekness, humility, is not playing small. Humility is not playing small. If you can own your flaws and your problems and your weaknesses, do you also have the humility to own your strengths and your power and your gifts? Because don't do one without the other. We are in a world of duality. We are in a world of balance, no matter what it looks like. I want to say one more thing about the 2 gentlemen I've been speaking about today, Charles Dickens and St. Francis. Because rather like Iron Man and Captain America, they have opposite arcs. And there's the subject of abundance that comes into both. Charles Dickens was terrified of poverty. Terrified. Even if you've seen a movie adaptation of David Copperfield, That's him. Terrified of the workhouse, terrified of poverty, and how the poor were treated in the 1800s in England. Francis, on the other hand, when he truly woke up, he loved it. He ran at it. Because he wasn't looking at what he could see. He wasn't looking at possessions. He wasn't looking at materiality. He wasn't looking at health either. He was looking through and into. Because he would find himself in everything and everywhere. Charles Dickens, on the other hand, became a fabulously wealthy man. So I want to bring this to conclusion. I'm going to go with Romans 12:2. Not conform to the pattern of the world, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you'll be able to test and approve what God's will is. I like that. Test and approve. You know it says that in the Bible? You get to do that. When you look at the nativity scene, as you'll get ample chance to do in the next few weeks, it's not just a symbol of triumph over adversity. You've got someone else who gave everything so that we would know about that. I understand if you're going to come and listen to someone talk, you take in what you take in, right? But if I can just offer to you some actions of knowing what your boundaries are, they will get tested. That's how you know what they are. Learn to let people down. It's not a system of unkindness or cruelty. Understand, a door will shut and a door will open. You all know this. When a door shuts to someone else, it's the same door. They need the door to shut too. Or we do, and the door will open, because it has to, because we live in a world of polarity. Truth, if it truly is truth, includes everyone. We just don't know when. And if it doesn't, then it wasn't truth. We seek to influence the world around us from where we come from. And so if we're only looking from the outside in, we won't find it. We can't find it. It will only be someone else's best attempt at filtering and expressing it. But it won't be yours. There is a cost to being in the world, but not of the world. The reward is infinitely great. I'm going to take us into meditation now. I haven't done this for a while. I'm going to use the looper here. And if anyone hasn't seen all these things before, what you do, rather like what we were doing with Susan earlier on, you sing or play an instrument into it, press a button, and we'll do it over. Build up music like that. And some years ago, since we're talking about St. Francis of Assisi, some years ago, a song came to me for the prayer of St. Francis, which is all about balance. It's always about coming to that point of center. If you know where you are and you don't like it, you can look to go to another point you do like. Because we're never truly in balance. We're either going in or out. So I'm going to do this. I call this Make Me an Instrument. Can I have a C, please? Lower, please. That's thank you. there's injury. Let me sow pardon where there's doubt. Let me sow faith where there's despair. Let me sow hope where there's darkness. Let me sow light. And where there's sadness, let me sow joy. Let me sow joy. Let me sow joy. Make me an instrument. Make me an instrument. Make me an instrument of your peace. Make me an instrument. Make me an instrument. Make me an instrument of your peace. Sing with me, please. Make me an instrument. Make me an instrument. Make me an instrument of your peace. Make me an instrument. Make me an instrument. Make me an instrument of your peace. For it is in giving an instrument we receive. Make me an instrument. It is in pardoning an instrument we are pardoned. It is in dying an instrument we are born to eternal life. Born to eternal instrument of your, born to eternal life. Make me an instrument. Make me an instrument. Make me an instrument of your peace. Make me an instrument. Make me an instrument. Make me an instrument of your peace. Make me an instrument. Make me an instrument. Make me an instrument of your peace. Make me an instrument. Make me an instrument. Make me an instrument of your peace. Make me an instrument. Make me an instrument. Make me an instrument of your peace. Make me an instrument. Make me an instrument. Make me an instrument of your peace. Make me an instrument. Make me an instrument. Make me an instrument of your peace. And we say, beloved Mother, Father, we call to you in this moment. We find peace inside. We find enough. We find delight inside. We find enough. Enough for the moment. Enough becomes more. More becomes much more. Much more becomes overflowing. And there is enough for everyone. And we miss nothing. As we say, make me an instrument. And we open ourselves to what is there and always there. For we choose to be alive. And let the vibrancy of all there is and allness shower from us like a fountain into our world. For when we have the grace and the privilege to be awake, alive, let us give that to those who in the moment are not. Let me say, beloved Mother, Father, God, goddess, make me an instrument. Let me be thy words, thine eyes, your breath, your deeds. And so it is. life, you would see this room. In each person, a light. The light amongst lights. Bring your attention to your feet, please. Your feet which touch and walk the earth, take you to everywhere and everything that you do and you need. Part of you that touches the same part as everyone else. Let's take a breath together. Let's take a breath together. Let's open our eyes. Do you or do I? We're going to move to the offertory part of this morning. And you're all expecting me to ask you for money right now. But I'm going to say you've actually been giving all morning. Because you sang, did you not? Oh, Holy Night, been singing that since all our lives. You gave of your sound. Given me attention for what feels like 50 years. And that is to say, you've joined in and belonged and connected. And so when we open now and we welcome your tithing, yes, absolutely. It's another way for you to join in. And it's a part of you that comes in. I don't remember anything what I'm supposed to do now, so.
As you know, that was totally spontaneous and not choreographed. Anyway. However, together, let's say the prayer of plenty. In the infinity of this moment, all is perfect, whole, and complete. We acknowledge the one presence, the one power, expressing through us in Unity Williamsburg Spiritual Center, every moment of every day. We open our hearts to the wisdom and intelligence that exists in the universe and in our minds, through which all resources and all healing comes, all darkness and total peace. As we trust that our needs are being met in this moment, divine order is unfolding for our highest good now. And so it is. Take a moment, if you wish. There's a basket at the center aisle, which you can make your contribution. Those of us watching live video can use Zephy and a QR code to send any offering. You can also use PayPal. I forget about PayPal.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I am. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. We are so blessed. We are so blessed. We are so grateful for all that we have. We are so blessed. We are so blessed. We are so grateful. We are so blessed.
And now, let's bless the offering. Sweet Spirit, we are grateful for all that you share with Unity Williamsburg Spiritual Center, helping us to be able to be here for services and events that we also share with our community.
Today's announcements. We will enjoy a talk next Sunday by the spiritual life coach, Carolyn Steinberg. Also next Sunday, there will be a board meeting after fellowship. Anyone who would like to attend is more than welcome. This Wednesday, Jamie Fitzwater will lead the weekly yoga class from 7 to 8 p.m. And on Saturday, Daryl Key will lead the weekly meditation class from 1 to 2. There are details on the back stand. If you need more information, please take a flyer. And from the congregation, do we have any announcements, please?
So first we had our first annual Christmas crafting and caroling and creating event, and it turned out to be more heavier on the decorating of the sanctuary than crafting. But to all those who came to decorate the sanctuary, you did an amazing job, and thank you for creating this beautiful space for us to celebrate the season. So thank you so much. We're going to have a second crafting day next Saturday, which will be all crafting since we have thoroughly decorated everything. And that will be from 10:30 to 12:30 this coming Saturday. There will be all kinds of crafts for anyone of any age and any ability, so everyone is welcome to attend. The other thing I wanted to let you know, it was brought to my attention there may be a typo on the Hue flyer in the back. So the date of Hue is on the December 17th, if there's any confusion about that. And also, on December 22nd, after service, we're having our Christmas luncheon. So the board will be providing the Christmas ham and some of those fixings, but we invite our community to share any kind of covered dish that you would like to bring, but it's just a time for us to fellowship and enjoy the season together. So thank you.
Thank you. I see no other person standing, so let's keep going. The prayer chaplain today is our very own Susan Cardoso. You will find her in the back after service, and offering private prayer. Prayer boxes are available. My right, probably, and in the fellowship room. The prayers will be picked up by our prayer chaplains, and prayer will begin immediately. Also, during the week, you may send your prayers through our website, unitywilliamsburg@gmail.com. All prayer requests are held in the strictest of confidence. You may want to receive our weekly newsletter if you haven't gotten it yet. Please check our website to sign up, unitywilliamsburg@gmail.com. And then at the end of service, please come and join us in the fellowship room. A little bit of something to drink, a little bit of something to eat, and lots of brilliant conversation. Thank you.
We can gather in the center
We shall.
and have a servant. And Joshua, you can go in the middle so we can rest you. Yes, there you go. Okay, are you ready? Give him lots of love. We love you. We bless you. We appreciate you. We hold Christ in you.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as Creator, and we all agree. each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. The light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
And be creative